Simarta Pabilayana Rosana Simarta Pabilayana Sakopalapai. Narayan Seva Sakopalapai. Nam Niranjana Niranarayana Rasana Simarata Papa Bilayana. 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 So this Shabad is in praise of Narayan, the Lord of the world, the doer of everything. And so what Guru Arjan is saying is, to me, what he says here is that the Nam, because it pervades everything in the universe, is like water. Water pervades everything on the earth. It pervades the air. It's in all the soil. It's in every plant. It's in every being. Without water, you have no life. And without the Nam, without the sound current of the universe, you also have no creation. You have no universe. So he's comparing the two in this way, and that's what I see from it. And he says by chanting Nam with the tongue, then all the mistakes and things we do against our higher consciousness are wiped away. And of course, Nam can be two things. Nam can be this sound current of the universe, which is the real Nam, and then there's the Nam that we can sing and we can vibrate, that brings us into that consciousness of the sound current. So Nam can be both of those things. And as he says in the Shabad, this Nam, this what they call Guru Charan, the feet of God. The Godway is so vast we can't really grasp God in its entirety, but the God inside, the sound current inside, the feet of God, the feet of the Guru Charan, that we can vibrate with, we can touch, we can feel it. And so he's saying that this God, this Lord, abides in every person and it illuminates every heart. And by chanting it, we don't fall into a negative experience of life, and that serving this energy, serving that creation, helping to bring others to that consciousness, all the rewards and enjoyments of life are experienced. So that's what this Shabad, so that's how its connection to me with water is, that because the Nam pervades everything and water pervades everything, then this element of water is a very sacred thing. Nanak talks about it in Slok. He says, Pavan Guru Pani Pitta, that water, Pani, is the father of everything. It's the source of all life in the creation. And scientists know this too. If they look on a planet for life, they always, first thing they do, of course, is look for water. So water is sacred. It should be sacred to us as human beings, as pranis, people who live on this planet and live from prana. We should look at water as a sacred element and respect it and even work with it, which is what we'll do on this yatra, is to actually experience this element of water and how it works in our life, and how we can, how water has a memory. And so we can actually put the memory of Gurbani and the memory of mantra into water and then drink it or bathe in it. That's the whole system of Ishnan in the tanks in India and at temples, the Sikh temples, is that this vibration of Nam has been chanted over it for hundreds of years. And when you bathe in that water, it has that sacred memory of Gurbani, so it purifies both the outer being and the inner being. So that's how I experienced this Shabad, and a little bit how I look forward to this Yatra that we will be going on. this fall. Yeah, that's a question that could have many layers, I suppose. Somehow I think I was born with it. And I was born into a surrounding where my mother encouraged my practice of music. When I was 7, she started me with piano lessons. Neither she nor my father played piano or played music at all, but they used to listen to music a lot in the house, so they got me a piano and started me on lessons. So from a very early age, I was surrounded by notes and music. And when I got a little bit older, when I think I was 12, when I first heard the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show in America on TV, and I decided at that point I wanted to switch from piano to guitar, because I was caught up by the magic of the music they were creating. And so my parents went out and got me a guitar. They were very nice about that. And so then I basically self-taught on the guitar for quite some years, playing mostly folk music, like the music of Donovan and Dylan and James Taylor, those kind of people I was listening to and playing some of their songs. And music at that moment also the meaning that was being transmitted through it at that time in the 60s was kind of my spiritual path, I think you could say at that time. Music was totally involved me. That was all I was very interested in. And at some point I left school and I left my parents' home when I was quite young, about 16. I think I went on the road and went up and lived in the woods of Maine for a time, just in very remote settings. And I met some people there who were yogis, hatha yogi people from New York. And they had friends who said, they wrote them a letter. In those days, of course, they had letters, not email. If young people may not understand how that works, but so they got a letter from some friends in New York and said, you have to try this new kind of yoga. It's different than hatha yoga, and there's a course coming up to Maine, and it's going to be in this town in south of Maine, and you should check it out. So we all got in our VW van and drove down to this intensive course in Kundalini Yoga, taught by these people who barely, I think they knew it, but didn't know it so well. And they taught it. In those days, the idea was to have a experience like a LSD trip by doing yoga. So the yoga was very strong. I remember we did like bowing yoga mudra for like 31 minutes, which I had never done Kundalini before. So to me, it was like very painful. I didn't like it, and it hurt like crazy. And I remember my mind cycle was pretty negative. I had this negative dialogue. What is this? This hurts. I don't like this. And I remember, and then running in place, breath of fire for I think 11 minutes. I think I remember passing out and waking up with these people all around me saying, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" So it was a little bit, and there were mosquitoes everywhere, and inside the building, outside the building. It was just like trying to meditate. It was like this. So my initial experience was like, this is nuts. But every night we go into a yurt, which had no mosquitoes in it, and everybody had something to play on, a tambourine or some spoons or a piece of wood, something. And this guy was playing the guitar. He knew 3 chords, and he knew 2 chants, Satanam and Waheguru. And we would chant that for like an hour, 2 hours every night, and just almost monotone. And to me, that was just magical. And so I think I was connected to this long before, and this was like just finding home to find this chanting, because I had never experienced it. And so that's my connection to Nada. And ever since then, the music of kirtan and the instruments and the notes itself and sound has fascinated me, and that became my study. That became my, of course I did Kundalini Yoga, still do Kundalini Yoga. It's fantastic. Now I've discovered when it's done gradually and properly, that it's a very great experience and leads to deep meditation. But still, the music is always my go-to sadhana, it's my go-to practice, and it's what I dedicate most of my time to. And the various instruments and the various systems of music also. I love Western music and music theory now. I'm starting to study after playing it for all these years. But also Indian music I studied for 30 years now. The raga system and the tabla and the tal system of rhythm. And so for me, it's fascinating, and there's no end to the study, and that's what gives me fulfillment. Yeah, it's a big difference, and I think, like you, I think everybody should play. I think everybody's a musician of some kind. Everybody has a frequency that they sing at that's unique, and it's not necessarily what's going to become popular. It's not a voice maybe that will, become famous on YouTube or something, but everybody has a unique voice and a beautiful voice in some way. And so I think everybody should play and everybody should sing. And I do encourage people to study the music, so the music is also pleasant to listen to. I think that's the basic. But music is surprisingly easy to study. For me, it was always, I never actually practiced very much. I used to just like to play. I enjoyed playing, so I would play for hours. Not necessarily practicing more than just playing things that gave me joy and gave me pleasure, and composing new things all the time. And so music doesn't have to be a drudgery. Some people think of the study of music as, I have to go through this drudgery of practice, but and there is in any instrument you play, or even your own voice, there's a certain maybe initial time where it's you have to it's like exercise. You have to practice certain muscles you haven't been using. So then when you do it, you get stiff, feels uncomfortable, it hurts a little bit. And music's the same, there's a little bit of pain involved. When you play guitar, your fingers hurt because you press the strings, which you never did before. And there's pain in that. If you practice sarangi, you're playing it on the part of the fingernail, the most tender part just above the nail that they torture people with. That's how you play the sarangi. So every instrument has its own torture. Tabla takes 2 months just to get a really good sound from that tabla, so that it's pleasant to hear. For 2 months, you have to just work at it till you get that right balance of speed and the right touch of it. And so a little bit of work, but when you get through that initial difficult period, then music becomes a joy, and it doesn't have to be a drudgery to practice. So I encourage everybody to learn music, and I consider that my goal for this last stage of life, is to educate as many people in the basics of music at whatever level they are and whatever level they want to reach. I like to adapt my teaching to the goal of that person and the style of music that they want to learn. And that's why I'm here at this Guru Ramdas Academy in Germany, as a place that I'm able to teach from this place. So that's what it's about. Everybody should play. It's just my love of it. English is my native language. When I sing Gurumukhi, I know a lot of words, but it's not fluent the way I am in English, of course. So when I sing in English, in some way, there's a part of me, the intellect part of me, that gets a certain joy from the meaning. And I connect that, of course, with my experience of meditation and so forth. So somehow the English brings out maybe the most devoted part of me, because I'm understanding the meaning, both from the intellectual language side, but also from the experience side. And both together, when I sing it, somehow I'm in that experience when I sing it in English. So I love to do that. Of course, now I'm in Europe, so not everybody here speaks English. And of course, I can't really sing in German yet. I sing a little bit in Spanish in the past. But the reason I do it is because it gives me so much joy to feel that experience that I'm intellectually also understanding completely. So I think it's just an act of joy. Yeah, I mean, in general, I mean, went to India way back in the early 70s, one of the early trips, and that was, of course, life-changing experience to go to a culture like the Punjabi culture and experience it with the, you know, the local people, going to the villages, playing kirtan, doing Ransbai kirtans, you know, going to the Golden Temple, experiencing that. There's no place on earth like that to go and experience that. So I highly recommend it to anyone to do it. And it's actually easy to forget also because for many years, see, I think I last went to India back in 2008 or something like that. So it was a good, then you guys invited me last year to come and I hadn't been in between. So, and I kind of thought, you know, India's not my favorite country to go to, although I love the food and I love certain parts of it. There's certain parts of it I really don't like also. So it's not like I'm going to go on holiday, go to India. But then when I went back and went to the Golden Temple and just experienced that amazing vision of it and that peace of it, just to be there in that environment, yeah, there's no, one should never take 14 years like that and not go back. That was, it's easy to forget sometimes in life. And to experience the, you know, the just inbuilt seva in the Punjabi people and in their culture, just how seva is so ingrained in their mentality. Of course, things change in India, but some things don't change also. And so that's just the basic experience of Yatra, to go to India and go to the Golden Temple and go to these other gurdwaras. Because the first trip I went, we did what we're going to do here. We went to Taran Taran and we went to to Ludhiana, we went to Anandpur, we went to many also small gurdwaras, and we always played kirtan wherever we went. And of course, they always served langar, and so it was a lot of travel and meeting a lot of amazing people and experiencing that influence of seva has on a society, how there's gurdwaras everywhere because people just give to create them so they have a place of meditation. So to experience that and to just walk in the dust of the saints like that, just to experience those places of Govindwal and the places the gurus actually meditated and were, is just, there's no other experience like it on the planet Earth, is my feeling. And this, I particularly like this concept that you guys came up with, this, the idea of water being to me a very sacred thing. I think until the human beings respect three things, which Nanak talks about in the slok, Pavan Guru, to respect the air, respect it in our own self by being conscious of our breath and the fact that our life force comes through the breath. So we have to be very conscious of the Pavan within us, but also the air and on the planet as human beings, as a society, as a planetary society. We have to respect the air and allow it to become clean again, because it will clean itself again if we give it time, but we have to stop polluting. If we don't do these things, then I don't think there's much hope for planet Earth. So we have to come to the sacredness of air, the sacredness of water, Pani Pita, and then Mata Dharita Mahat, the sacredness of the planet Earth itself, this beautiful, fertile, wonderful planet that is 70% water. We have to respect these entities as sacred beings, basically, that we are a part of. And when we do that, then the planet will thrive. And if we don't do that, then we come into a lot of trouble. And now the world is seeing it. Whether we can do something about it, I don't know. But to me, to come to this yatra and experience this element of water in this way and transform ourselves through this water that contains the memory of Gurbani and the memory of all the mantras and chanting, it's been done for hundreds of years, is as a self-purification and just a self-transformation. I think there's probably no practice better than a yatra of this type, and the concept of doing it based on water is a fantastic concept. I'm very grateful to you inviting me. So they will experience culture shock, both coming to India and then going back home after India. And that it's like a punch in the face almost. That's how powerful it is. And in a good way, although of course not always experienced as good and bad are just relative, of course. So there's a lot of things in India that will shock and will surprise and will amaze, both the smells and the sights and the sounds and the chaos and at the same time the beauty and the devotion. So there's this big mix of things. So what people will experience is something that they never have experienced, and that you can't experience through your phone or your YouTube, however much people think they can have artificial experiences on the internet. There's nothing like going there and experiencing them. And so if people want to really create a space for change in themselves, to just surrender to a trip like this to India and just go with the expectation of experiencing both the good and bad of it. I think that is, it's a transforming experience. And even if you've been many times to India, maybe you haven't been for a while, there was the lockdowns, nobody was going anywhere. If you haven't been for a while, you should come again, because as I experienced coming back to it after many years, it was just as powerful as the first time I went. And I mean, I admire you folks for like living there. I find that's amazing. But I think the Yatra is the most powerful way to enter into it and to deepen the practice.